shortly. Right, so pleasant good evening. Welcome to the NEBOSH National General Certificate April class. Um, so we are here on the project NG2 as they call it, right? Based on 10 hazards, right? Report to write up to type up, sorry, right? And what I was going through, I was going through the many mistakes people make. And the reasons for the mistake is not really understanding what I've just said. So I'll say it over on the record, right? So what I was saying, the best way to describe this project is it is a what do you call it? A meet and greet, right? When I say a meet and greet, it's like two things in one. It's like they ask you for something and you have to do it, right? And so like some people, like I was saying before, they would say, well, my company doesn't have these hazards. But that's not what really they ask for, right? They ask for you to meet the requirement then, right? So by the way, sorry for interjecting again. Folks, we need to have the cameras on what happened on the NEBOSH audits. Then they look at your videos. They have mentioned that you need to put them on. Now I know we of course at the school here we say, but they say you all are the 2:30 class, right? Normally if it's around lunchtime, we allow people to kind of take it off. But like if I mean like if you have a child or there's something sensitive happening, whom at your place, you can turn it off. But just try to have it on as much as possible, right? Always remember there is three entities here. Well, hopefully, I mean it may have more, but three legal entities here, right? Me being the course provider, you being the delegates, and NEBOSH. Always remember that, right? It's not always a case of saying that you're getting it because your names are on the class register, right? And I would hate to think that they kind of interject. I mean, I am interjecting and telling you that remember the class rules is that you need to leave it on. If by chance something happened where you are at, you could turn it off, right? And just deal with that. If you want to have a cup of coffee. But I really don't mind those things. I mean, we are all adults anyway, right? But it has come up on a couple of the audits from them anyway, right? And remember, the registers, all of these things are said. Remember, it's not like remember that's why you came here, right? This is not Costa, this is not Cipriani, this is not local then, right? This is why you came here. We talk about NEBOSH being the number one brand, but that also means we have to adhere to certain standards too now, right? Keeping a register, things like having the camera on, right? And so just remember that going forward. Like, don't let me say because it's been said and they recorded now, which means they would actually hear it, right? But don't let me always say it now, right? Just remember, I mean, that is what we mentioned on orientation day from day one. In fact, it's recorded and it's on YouTube, so you all can't miss. This one class cannot miss, right? So, I think really to start I started impromptu because when we started impromptu, there were just about 5 persons on, and then it went to 9, right? So we kind of started impromptu and then came back to what we said, right? So I want to start on a good note. I mean, and not always, not always would there be uh but I mean there are always good notes, but not always would be the same good note then, right? So like this week here, this is July. My May class. So when you'll see them on Facebook shortly, right? Well, not today, right? By next week. My May class, a class of 16 students that held this same time slot before you. They were the 2:30 class, right? Their results came out, just to make the long story short. Uh, they all passed exams. We got for the first time, uh, probably since 2019, we got 100% passes, right? And so as I say, it's not always that we share that because remember, not every class gets 100%, right? So there's 100% passes on the open book exam. and about 94% on the project, right? Two persons faulted, and as I was saying there, the reasons for faulting could be vast because they do have these, and like there's a report coming out of that, by the way. They will get a report saying what they, why those two persons were not passed then, right? But the reasons are vast then in terms of like how the UK examiner could actually judge this, right? And you're also understanding that we are in no way in NEBOSH. We have never claimed to be. And if that was the case, then you wouldn't be here, right? The reason why you're here is to get a NEBOSH qualification, not to get a Cipriani or a Costard or a Shadrach, right? You're here to get a NEBOSH qualification. We do have our own certificates, by the way, right? But you're here to get a NEBOSH qualification. So what I was saying, just to get back to where I left it there, is that to pass this project, did you write it down? You have to just give them what they want, right? And for that reason, um, parts of the project then is based on reality, and parts are just based on fiction. Because, like I was saying before, if your company does not have a shift system, but they require a shift system, you're going to have to think about, but what if the company you're in, what if work does come up and workers have to work shift? So you have to put it in there and you cannot leave it out, right? Are you are you all understanding that part of it? Is that it's a kind of blend between reality, but also you have to meet the requirements on the NEBOSH project. Let me know if you're all okay with that. Let me know if you have any questions as well. Um, some questions should come up, otherwise that means you're not listening because this time I'm taking to say lots of things, right? So the project, for those who know, does not have a pass mark. It doesn't have a pass mark, right? How they judge the project. So again, I hope you're listening. They judge it by you meeting everything they ask you for. And it's nicely laid out. It's like rows by rows by rows. You'll see just now, right? So it's nicely laid out. And the people who don't meet it, it's either you didn't take notes in this live, you didn't refer to the notes, you didn't refer to the guidance document, right? And you're just doing your own thing, right? Normally somebody who listens this video, who take a look at the guidance and the sample, you don't get much problems at all. 3 or 4 minor issues to fix, right? Um, I'm still surprised that anybody gets mistakes at all, though, right? Like I'll show you one just now. I'll show you where we reach it just now, right? You'll see there's a table just now. I was doing it at another class. I have a class in the night, a class in Guyana, and like with them, I try to put their recording up the very same night. So I did part one with them last week, and we did part two this week, right? And there's a particular column, we call it column 5. You have to put, and there's a sample too. So this is where there's a sample showing you what to do. So like every row, then you have to put a time for the actions. Then so like one time could be 2 months, another time could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? And I specifically said, don't leave out any rows, right? And then to see one come in with the rows missing, with numbers missing that, right? So it's like, I mean, that's a simple reason. So what I was telling you all, how you fail that or how you pass is that you fill out all the spaces there, right? And when you do, on the mark sheet that's in there from NEBOSH, you just mark the word met, anything, met, right? And to pass, you have to get all the mets met, right? So to pass, you have to get all the Mets, wherever you have to meet a requirement, the name of company, date, you have to meet all the Mets. So, you know, we actually do look at drafts. We really don't overdo it, right? Just to let you know, like over the years, we have realized like maybe just about Like in some classes, I remember a class, I told them I was going to do one draft because I figured one was enough, but then I realized one wasn't enough. So, like, we don't like it shouldn't be then like a continuous back and forth, like 10 times with the lecturer. I don't think, like, I think if somebody was sending in a draft 10 times, it really means that you don't deserve to pass in the first place because it means that you're not reading the guidance, you're not following the sample, you didn't understand something, you need to go back and read it, right? Because 10 times is too much, right? Back and forth, everything. I mean, that's too much. Like to me, as a safety person, it means you can't follow instructions. I'm not just sure what NEBOSH policy is on that. But I know they say we should not be really marking the project. However, they didn't say we cannot review it. But I was saying, I think, and I have done 10 times. Just to let you know, I have done 10 times, right? But I think as a rule now, we have been looking at it like 3 times for the most, you know? Like try to finish it and send it, and we look at it like 3 times, like one feedback, another one. And those two persons that kind of got through the loophole in the May class, I'm not too sure what it was because we cannot judge it anyway. The most we can do is try to see if we meet everything. And something that those two persons had, something probably didn't meet a requirement, right? One of the things we're not able to judge or not, yeah, one of the things we are not able to judge is the quality of their answers, right? Like if somebody puts an answer for one of the columns then and he much disagrees with it, then I can't judge that. I mean, two people are different as like, they are night. So I can't judge that, right? So I'm hoping it's not something like that. But what I was saying, things like missing rows, missing dates, missing shift patterns, those are things we're here to help you, right? And then we send it to NEBOSH and we let the magic happen, right? NEBOSH should mark it. If you meet all the requirements, you pass. If you don't meet a requirement, they don't pass you, right? So in the case of that, you just get not met. And if you get a not met, then you don't pass the project. At which case, when the results are published, you will be given a feedback report on what you did meet and why the examiner thought you didn't meet it. You'll have to fix that one or two not mets, pay, you have to pay them, right? If it's one unit, it's just be about £85 and you resubmit to the other sitting, right? So you understand why I'm going down this road because what I'm telling you now, people think the project is in the bag. Of course, as a slang, right? The project is easy. Yes, it is, but it's also precise, right? And what I've been realizing, except in that May class, of course, and I have this one guy in our class that I've been talking to, right? Lots of people don't start when we say start, right? So like now you're about close to 7 weeks before September, right? And the exam is cut for September. So now is when you should do it that. Most schools don't do it like me. Like most schools, they do the project at the end of the exam. They come back for a day and they do the project. And we used to do that. We used to do it kind of after the exam too. But then I realized people need time. But what I say now, what I would like today is that if we cover part one now, I would like for you all to do part one and send it for me, right? And that's the mistake because people leave it for the last week still anyway. When you have the written exam, hustle it down and then expect to pass, right? But there is a judgment day there, meaning there's a day that we have to send it to NEBOSH. So as much as there's a leeway, how we teach it now, and there's room for everybody to pass now, right? But those who leave it for last, there's a day when we have to send it to NEBOSH, right? So like right now I have anyway, I won't tell you all of it. I have something that I may want to report to NEBOSH, right? Where a student is being very rude, right? He passed the deadline, He passed our deadline twice. I have the email saying where he apologized for submitting late, right? He's very upset because he failed, right? But that's not on me. You had all the time in the class, you had all the time for a draft, right? The emails prove he submitted late anyway, right? And those things should be avoided then. Like I always say, you're spending your money. It's not as if in this school we are rushing it 7 weeks. Nowhere in the world will you get this project done in 7 weeks' time, right? Nowhere. Most providers worldwide are telling you it's just 1 to 3 days, right? But Trinidadians then, right? The concept of Trinidadians seem to think that time is forever, right? The 7 weeks will come to an end, and there's a date due, and the date you're going to submit what you send me, whether or not what you send me was completed or not, right? So, I would advise, like I said, I mean, we have the class list, when we reach today, please, kind of get that as well done, right? All right. So okay, do we have any questions there regarding if you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna try to bring this up a little bit bigger and then I would start on the sample. Grab your pens and think out if you have any paper wrong. Do you believe that you could actually finish part one right now? But you're the right one telling you to right. You can finish part one right now. Like now, like before today class finish, right? All right. If you don't have any questions, let's get to it. I hope I'm in such an awkward posture because speaking of safety, because of the foot now, right? I'm on an office chair that could roll back at any time, right? But at the same time, it's better than the table. I'm actually foot resting in the bed here, but from my office chair, but it's actually better than the table for now, right? For now, right? Anyway, I hope it doesn't roll back, right? Okay, so let's go, right? So if you don't have any questions, folks, was there something in the chat? Just let me know. Remember, we are here to help you. And one of the things, as somebody said they finished part one. Yes, I think I remember that. Yes, Sajanessa. Sajanessa actually finished. I remember that, right? You know the thing about that. I'm telling you, right? The thing about the class, the November class, everybody was working. But one of the things is that they ask questions like they were mature people now, right? Which expect you all to be too. If you think you have a doubt, say it, right? I am here to help you, but remember, I'm not here to do your project for you, right? So you all come in at any time you think you have a question, let me know, right? Send a voice note. Of course, if I'm in a class, that's when I don't respond to the phone, right? But that doesn't mean I won't respond eventually, right? Sometimes I'm actually clearing up message on my phone this week from last week. But that's how it is anyway, right? That's the nature of it. Many of you would actually deal with me and not any of the coordinators, right? Anyway, so looking at this, right? Now, this document here, I believe I emailed this to you. This document is the guide to the project. So if you want to know if you're doing the right thing, all you have to do is read this guide. The thing that Trinidadians don't like to do, read, right? So instead of asking me, is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? What do I think about this? This guy tells you everything, right? Let me show you, right? I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me have to move us around a bit here, right? Did I get to the end of it? Oh, I went straight down to the end of it. Okay. Yeah, so the guy tells you what you have to do for the different parts. Right now, this is part one, the introduction. Uh, the pinpoint, sorry, I'm going to put us to the top there, right? The pinpoint, what you have to do. You have to give the location, the site location. You have to give how many work, and there's a rule for it, so you can't miss it. I'll show you just now. There's a rule for it, right? It's like, watch it, right? Let me show you, right? Somebody coming in the classroom. There's a space for it. Um, I try to maneuver between that and the sample, right? Okay, so there's a sample that looks like this. So you see, so you can't miss it. You understand? Like you would have a blank one of this. So they want, if you go back, if I was reading the name of the organization, you put the name of the organization. This is a sample. So they give you a sample too. It's kind of like a maths teacher telling you 2 by 2 is 4, and then they ask about how much is 2 by 2, right? You have an example of it, right? So how do people mess it up? I have no idea, right? You put the site location, number of workers, and here the worst thing, I'm actually going to walk you through now, row by row, right? Which I don't think is expected. I don't think anybody else does that, right? I'm going to walk you through row by row now, right? And so you see the general description, they talk about here the size of the company, activities. If you watch here, you'll see shift patterns, description of the area to be included, any other relevant information. So when you're lost and you're trying to figure out what do I put under any other relevant information, you go back to the guide. We call the guide the document with the forklift on it. Anybody want to refer to it, we just call it the document with the forklift, right? So what's the guide? The documentary focus. So if you want to know what do I put any other under any other relevant information, let's say you did not take the class, you did not listen to recorded, and you want to know what to put there, right? Because I'm going to tell you, but you can read here and you say any other relevant information. Example, who has direct responsibility for health and safety? So you go back to the sample and you see it says the finance director who reports directly to the managing director has direct responsibility for health and safety. Now, how could this be hard? Right? It would be hard to me if you didn't get a sample, you didn't get a guide, and you was just shooting blanks, then you're shooting any other way you're shooting, right? But it's not a case of that. And that's why the market like that. The market because you'll have a great amount of time to finish it in. It's examined under open book rules. You could look at the video, you could look back at the sample, look at the guide, so that nobody should mess it up, right? But I tell you, people do, right? Now, some of them, like I tell you, some of them, this is not the part for the judgment. The judgment thing is the table I was telling you all about. There's a column here called the fourth column. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth column, sometimes the controls you put there, seeing some of the examiners may not agree with it. Now, that's something I really cannot judge. I tell you, that's like day and night. Two people don't have the same mind, right? I could read it and find it sounds good. But they're not doing too much of that, right? But I'll give you some rules when we reach there, right? There are some rules for it. Like one of the rules is just common sense. Your control must be common sense. It can't be anything too fancy, right? Uh, I was talking to a student about that this weekend. She had some words that she used that I don't even know the words in the dictionary. It didn't sound like that to me, but I didn't want to tell her that now. I don't know if she made up these words. I try to remember them now because I can't remember them right. If I could remember them now. So some words that seem to be made up was like two words are blended into one, right? Anyway, so that shouldn't happen to anybody. Like once your controls are realistic, you should be okay to right. So folks remember this. The guidance is the main document. And watch it. They guided through part 1, they guided through part 2, they guided through part 3, right? I often say the guidance is the most important document, but is the one that is read the least. Again, normally if I get a project, I could tell somebody use the guidance. By just looking at it, I say, look, this person use the guidance. Because the person do what's correct, right? But like the minute you don't use it and you start to write about your company, this and we don't want that, right? NEBOSH don't want that. They want it to meet the requirements that they set for you. And once you meet it, you should be okay, right? So let's go to the sample. Now, if you have a blank sheet of paper, what I was saying, you can do this now. Like right now. Type it out, like not type it, but write it out now, right? So the first thing they want is the name of the organization. So you put the name of an organization. Any organization will do. Don't make it a sticking point. Just type out a name fast. Write out a name fast, right? You want to go with Atlantic LNG. You could go with a full name, a made-up name, Rams Roti Shop, S&J Mechanical B. It doesn't matter. But think about what company you want to do because You have to get 10 hazards from that company, right? Ideally, you should reflect on something that you like, maybe something from your past experience. But again, you can use a general thing. You can use restaurants, you can use just an office type building, right? There's no restriction there. There's no restriction on the name of the company. The name does not have to be a real name. It could be real or it could be imagined. Could you do that for me now? And I'm going to ask you just now. I'm going to ask for you to read out what it is you wrote down for me in the different parts of this anyway, right? You can use your own name. You could go with Joda's Construction Limited, DB and Sons Restaurant and Bar. It doesn't matter. But what matters is that you have a little idea of what you're talking about. So like me, I would have done when I actually did all my NEBOSH, to be honest. The funny thing is I never wrote about Massey. I always wrote about the first one of my first work, which was in a company called IAL. IAL is still around and they're in Guyana too. Yeah, I think if I mentioned IAL is in Friendship in Guyana to the right hand side of the highway coming up there. I saw them. I actually didn't know it was the same IAL. You know, sometimes you go two places and two places the same company name. But it's only afterwards I realized somebody told me that is actually the same IAL, Industrial Agencies Limited. They're located in Cross in San Fernando. Those of us who have gone to the Cross to buy food, we have all been on the Cross. There's South Trinidad anyway, is like around, the park, the Queen's Park in Port of Spain. There's lots of food outlets in the night. Actually, if I didn't have a class, I might have been there. It's a kind of safe line, right? So it is a kind of safe line anyway, right? Lots of things. Sando is there. Sando, that bakery company, cheesecake, gyros, soup, making me feel hungry anyway, right? But IL is right there, right? IL was right there with Soccer Services. Now, when I moved, the IL was there. So I was wrote about a fabrication company because I moved to IL and the machine shop. I was a pump technician. Yes, I didn't just fall in the chair. I may fall from the chair today, but I didn't just fall in the chair, right? I worked as a pump technician. They repaired PCP pumps, progressive cavity pumps. Probably used in the oil field industry in Trinidad here anyway. I don't know if they use it anywhere else in the world. But I was wrote about that because that straight, I actually did my master's on that too. I did my master's in that same machine shop. I based it, I wasn't there still, but I based my master's dissertation on vibration from the machines and the tools in that machine shop. I never wrote about my own school. Back then, if it was my own, then I wouldn't be studying, right? But when I was in master, I was still doing my master's. I was finishing off my master's and I never wrote about that. But you write about something that because the point is that I was comfortable with that. So you write about where you are comfortable with. If you have worked anywhere that you feel comfortable, maybe you want to open a business, a restaurant, mini mart, and something like that. But write about something that you are comfortable with because from it we have to extract 10 hazards, right? All right. Site location, you can put the location, of course, in our respective countries. So I'll just give you a couple of names off the top of my head here. So if you're looking at, as I mentioned, Cipero Street, San Fernando, you put Trinidad and Tobago, you could probably put West Indies. If it was, Point 410, Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies, Freeport, Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. You get the idea, right? Palisaco, Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. The reason for that is because there's actually another Trinidad. There's actually a Trinidad in Cuba. If you don't know, there's a big part of Cuba called Trinidad. I don't know if you all know that. And there's another Tobago too. I don't know if you know that too. Check it up, you'll see. If you go Cuba, most people go Trinidad. There's a place in Cuba called Trinidad. If you go Cuba, another Havana, Trinidad in Cuba is known as a big party place now. Yes, there's a place in Cuba named Trinidad. So that's why you put Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. Right? When you finish class and go and research it, right? There's a Trinidad in Cuba, right? And of course, those of us in Guyana, if you're looking at, wherever you are at, Diamond, Georgetown, Guyana, South America, right? If you're looking at somewhere down in Linden, Guyana, South America, etc., right? So just make it clear so that the examiner, of course, know where your location is at anywhere. Anything that could be misleading, just try to clear it up by saying Georgetown, Guyana, right? Don't just say Georgetown because there could be other Georgetowns out there. Georgetown, Guyana, South America. So they know exactly, okay, this is the real Guyana, this is the real Trinidad and Tobago. Not to say that the one in Cuba is not real, it's very much a real place, but it's of course the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago then, right? How many how many of you all knew that it have another Trinidad in Cuba? You're going to check it out and see. Yeah. It's known as like where you go for parties. Havana, kind of unsafe, but like where the party places are, you go to Trinidad. But in Cuba, anyway, um, number of workers, right? So any number of workers will do, but don't overdo it and don't underdo it. Remember coming to ask where you put just now, right? So anything like around, I mean, if you want to be real, be real. If your company have 50, put 50, maybe they have 60, they have 100, 200. You could, like, I guess it could be real, right? Of course, if it is a made-up company, remember we said the project could be real or imagined. If it is somewhat made up, don't make the numbers too small. Like even if it's a bakery, a family-owned bakery, family-owned restaurant, roti shop, curry shop, right? Diana, curry shop. Um, like you may have part-time workers if you didn't think about the cleaner or the people that prep and stuff. So maybe they can check it up and get about 10. And I think 10 is a decent size number. 15, 20 and stuff is a decent size number, right? So if you're okay with that, and we're gonna do some writing now as soon as I can get the marker, right? So what I'm gonna write, maybe I should read it for you first, right? What I'm gonna write is what they ask here for. They have this in the guidance. Everyone they can read it for you first, right? But I was gonna pull it out. Yes. Sorry, I just have the GM coming here. Okay. Everything okay with him? With Patrick. Yeah. Okay. Change from the food, right? Okay, good. Thank you. Nice. Ito niyan, nilogtas ko lang ito kung ano. No problem. Yeah, good. Good. Stala, you got to offer it more. Yeah, I would. I would. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah. So you can say cool, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the GM. I said the office is open as I'm not there, but he came and he dropped by lunch for me. So hopefully I'll have that around 6 o'clock. That's when I get a break from classes. I have another class after you today. All right. Yeah, so I was gonna tell you, let me read it first. I grabbed the marker, but let me read what they wanted, right? And then I was gonna pull it out here for you, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 main things here, and write it out. And as I said, ask us and how come people don't get it, right? And the only explanation is that they don't read, and then if you don't read, well, then you don't listen, right? And there's no reason to fail the project today. There was a reason long time, because long time, remember, was a timed exam and you couldn't use your book. Just give me a minute. I need mark. Has to change back for me to get a cursor. All right. So what we're gonna do now is this piece here. So we have covered the name of the organization, the site location, how many workers are employed. So we're gonna get a general description of the organization, which must include information on products manufactured and or services provided, the types of activities undertaken, and shift patterns worked. That's what you're looking for, right? General description of the organization, which must include, must means must, right? Must means shall. Must means it's absolute then. Information on products manufactured and or services provided, the types of activities undertaken, and shift patterns work, right? So let me go back and I'll put it out for you. I'll write it out for you, right? Uh, which means I have to get back to marker again. Right. So if you want to write them down, so one of the first things people normally start off with is the size of the organization. Yeah, I know you didn't see it there, but this is description on the size of the organization. And in this size, you want to mention about three locations. Well, let me rephrase that. Maybe three areas. This is THRE. Doesn't look like that. Three areas of your company. There's a reason for this because you're going to have to take out 10 hazards. And if you can get down to about three areas, you would be able to pull the hazard from the three areas there, right? THREE, right? Three areas. So you start off with the size of the company. The next thing they mention is products and services manufactured. So we normally call that the function of the organization. Like, what does the organization do? The function, do they make something? Do they service something? IEL would have been manufacturing and service. If you're working in a bakery, a roti shop, I guess you are manufacturing, you are making breads and cakes and pastries for the bakery. If it's a curry shop or a roti shop, then you are making rotis, uh, curries. They love those things in England, right? You know, do you know that do you like have you ever heard about the phrase chicken is it chicken tikka masala? Have you ever heard about that type of food? Chicken tikka masala? Have you ever heard like have you ever bought that chicken tikka masala?
I have.
Okay, right. Do you know that was actually invented in London? I didn't know that. I thought that was invented in Trinidad. That was actually invented in London. I think I got the right one. So like anyway, so the point is that what they're making, what you're manufacturing is a function of the organization, right? So that's about the second thing. The third thing here is the activities. Now, when I read it, I'm going to slow down and show you where these things are. You want to put the activities? Let's finish up that word for me. Activities. Activies. A bunch of I's and E's inside there, right? So the activities, then they want the working pattern or the normal working day of the company. This one isn't coming out good, right? Look at that come out there. Probably because I took close to the border down there. But hopefully you can write it out. We want to get the working hours of the company. But that's what hours, right? The working hours of the company. And last but not least, you do want to put the shift pattern. You hear what I tell you about shift, right? You have to put it. If you want me to tell you a story, I'll tell you a story why, so you know how to put it. I had a student, Chanel. Chanel came back to me after I said this, and she said her company doesn't have a shift. I told her put the shift. She did not put the shift. She failed. She had to repeat by putting in the shift, and when she put in the shift, she passed. Long story short, right? Okay, so let's kind of try to see if we can find them, right? There's a find these things. So tell me when you're ready, right? If you're right, I'll go through the size, three locations, function, activities, the hours of the company, working hours really should have been there, and then the shift pattern of the company. If you have those, you can't fail this rule. If you have those and the failure for this rule, I will take it up with NEBOSH because they cover everything as per the guidance. Folks, if you have anything just because of yeah, Sadranessa, okay, then you can use your past workplace. Just now, two things is happening. There's somebody you have something in the chat, but then somebody is coming in as well. Um, yeah, right. Sadranessa said she used Massey. They had safety training. Yeah, I did the same thing. I mean, like where I mean, I said, but like the thing is be comfortable. When I say be comfortable in what you're using now. Like, I mean, like up to now, if I had something to do on a workplace, I would still choose IEL machine, like machine shop, right? To me, it's simply enough then. It's simply enough where we're just making something, painting it and storing it, you know? It's simply enough. Somebody who may have worked in a bakery, a supermarket, yes, you're probably not there now, but just use something simple. If you want to make up something, just make it up something in 3 areas and anyway, right? Anyway, I started. So NGG Limited is a medium-sized garage with offices. Take note, take note, right? Vehicle repair shop and paint spray booth, right? So you notice that's 3 locations there, right? Could you do 4? Yes, you could do 4, but don't do less than 3, right? Let's go again. The next thing we're supposed to see is what? The next thing we're supposed to see is what's number 2? Number 2,
General description.
Function, sir.
function. Very good, right? Oh, the number 2. Okay. So the business does a lot of repairs and maintenance on commercial vehicles and body repairs on vehicles, mainly cars and vans, that have been involved in accidents for insurance companies. Servicing and maintenance, MOTs and maintenance, are also carried out for members of the public. So that's function. So, folks, if I was doing, let me just show you how simple this is, right? I could have just put here SNS Bakery, uh, Diamond Village, San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. Of course, there's a diamond in Guyana too, right? Number of workers, 10. Of course, elaborated on that because I don't think it really have 10, but I put 10, right? So I just put here SNS Bakery is a small bakery with an office area, the kitchen area, and the pantry area. Well, not area, just say the office, the kitchen, and the pantry area, right? SNS Bakery bakes breads, cakes, pastries for members of the public and also for special occasions such as weddings, graduations, christenings, those kind of things, right? So I could just do it like that. As I said, like this should just flow now. It shouldn't be something you're stopping to think too much about. It should just be something that flow. You have a pattern, follow the pattern, and you're good to go, right? Next thing we're supposed to see is activities. Listen to this carefully, right? And you'll see why you're reading it and you'll understand how we're reading it, right? So they have typical activities undertaken include moving spare parts from the stores to the workshop, comma, engine repairs, comma, activities related to servicing and maintenance, comma, body repair, comma, training fuel oil. Is a reason why I'm reading the comma, right? Fuel oil, comma. Spray booth activities included the use of paints that are solvent-based, full stop. Right? So you have to do yours just so, right? So if I was using the bakery, I would have said at SNS Bakery, um, typical activities or everyday activities may include receiving delivery products from like flour, oil, baking powder, right, from the delivery suppliers, comma, storing them in the pantry, comma, use of the products, flour, oil, by the chef in the kitchen, comma, um, need enough flour to the desired specification for breads and cakes, comma. You understand what I'm doing? I'm fleshing it out. Folks, you understand what I'm doing? So like somebody who never work in a bakery, they could understand what happens in a bakery now, right? Um, baking items in the industrial ovens to 400 to 600 degrees Celsius, comma, remove it from the ovens and store it on rackings for sale to customers or delivery to clients, right? Full stop. So do you all understand that approach?
Yes, sir.
Right, because what I was telling you now, that's what you have to do. Remember, the company you have in mind, this examiner in England, right? Never work in them companies, right? Do you know that, crime aside, for those of us in Trinidad, do you know that crime aside, they love to come to the Caribbean? They love to come to Trinidad. I could prove that to you. I have that documented, right? And so they would love to hear what's happening at Atlantic Energy or what's happening at your company, but you had to make it real to them, right? Don't put any complicated thing. Like some people put, I'm giving you one, right? There's like some people put, like they use the company acronyms and like massive names, TBRAs and SOPs, and you're talking like that. They wouldn't understand that, right? The term TBRA is a local term, task-based risk assessment, right? Don't write about things that you expect like that. So as I say, don't write about your company. Write it in the simplest, fluent English language. That how I describe what happened in a bakery that you all could understand it, right? And if you're writing about a machine shop or the restaurant or a insurance company or a supermarket, right? Write it in a simple way that anybody could understand it, right? So you notice the use of the comma, because I read it out, the abbreviation, then the punctuation comma is used to separate the activities, right? We almost finished here now with this one. Next thing, the garage operates, so we're supposed to be seeing hours. The garage operates from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays and is closed on the weekend. So you just put, you be real to you. You put the working time of your company. You say, SNS Bakery bakery is open late, right? So SNS Bakery opens from 12 p.m. Uh, to about 8 p.m., right? Mondays to Fridays, right? And whatever you was doing. The next thing is a shift. Now, what I realize here, and I hope you're listening, the sample did not have a good idea of the shift, right? So they didn't really mention shift here. If you read this here, right? They said there are staggered start and finish times in place. That is not what the guidance asks for. The guidance asks for a shift system. On top of that, I told you what happened to Chanel, right? So you have to learn how to listen to the guidance, not the sample, right? The guidance is the blueprint then. The sample is just a sample, right? So what you should do here, you could probably say add SNS bakery or add, D&B construction. Workers may be required to work shift from time to time, and this may be on a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Or if a job demands from maybe 6 p.m. to maybe 10 p.m. in the night. But make up a shift then. If a shift is not real to your company, think about what it is. Think about how realistic. Like if you have an order for the bakery, like for example, there is a graduation, a school call and said, they want 600 ones, right? So that's money. So you can say, okay, like in the event of a client demand, workers will look at a shift system from maybe 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. the following morning, right? But whatever the shift system is, you put a shift, you put a shift system down to to satisfy your shift then, right? So, just make it a bit real and put in the shift system. Tell me what you think with this piece of it. This piece is done. Just give me a minute to it. I told you my foot is up, right? So it's very uncomfortable. I'm gonna take off my camera, but I'm gonna keep reading the other one. Just about a minute. I just kind of take it down and then I'll put it back up, right? I think I told you I may have to do that today based on how comfortable it feels anyway, right? And I wouldn't take it on for long because once I put it on, it starts back hurting. All right, so do you all have any questions on that part of it? If you don't, I'm gonna read the other one and give you some. In fact, maybe I should give you the instruction first. So the instruction with the other one is when you read it, it says they want a description of the area to be included in the risk assessment, right? Now, to be honest with you, it's not a description. You can read it and see this is not a description. A description cannot be one line, right? So actually what you do it here, you are actually just stating the areas, you are stating the areas that you're going to do the risk assessment on, right? You're going to state the areas you're going to do the risk assessment on. I recommend that you use all three of your areas, right? I recommend you use all three that you mentioned on top. I recommend using all three areas, right? So all you're doing here, you're stating the risk assessment will cover the garage and spray boot activities and the office, right? However, the sample said the garage and spray boot activities, and they said the office area has a separate risk assessment. No, I would not have done that. If you wonder why would not, why would I not have, you know, like what did they did? Then they actually took off an area, right? Now remember what I said. The RA table have to have 10 hazards in it. Now, if you take off an area, then you can't use a hazard from the office, right? So, like in my thinking, and not just my thinking, it's not my thinking, right? Like before, remember NEBOSH has always been around, right? They would have changed in like in the pandemic there, right? But the principle of this project was always to use a wide range of hazards. So what I'm trying to tell you that if you limit yourself to just two areas, the hazards in the office then, like ergonomics, you might not have been able to talk about that because you're limited. Here, you say you're not going to use the office. You say the office as a separate RA, but you shouldn't say that. Folks, you understand that? I'll tell you again. The principle of the project was that you get a wide range of hazards. But if you knock off some areas, well, then they could have been good hazards if there's such a thing. But I mean, for example, we're talking about, right? Some of the hazards and like slips and trips, right? Bullying at work and things, those things, like you wouldn't be able to use it, violence at work, because if you knock off the office, then those things wouldn't be applicable. So I say use all three. So I've made a note of that. And normally when somebody give me a project and I see they knock off one, I already know this person didn't listen. And I already know too that somewhere in the project, this person is going to be repeating the hazards, whereas the idea was a wide range of hazards anyway, and not limited to just two areas, right? So I would say here, for me, the risk assessment will cover the kitchen, the pantry, and maybe the seating area for SNS bakery, something as simple as that, right? I wouldn't knock off one, knowing in the long run, which is the table, you need 10 hazards. So why would you knock off an area that has potential hazards in it anyway? Tell me what you think. I just need one. I need about 30 seconds again.
Question, sir.
All right, here, I just taken off the
What
camera.
if,
Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
listening. Go ahead.
what if you mention areas in the business that you say, well, in mine I have over probably 4 or 5 different areas,
That's cool.
but
Yeah,
out of the 4 or 5, 3 areas are giving me the five
that'll work.
different
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
risks.
That would work because you see, you
But
didn't like you
in
didn't
my
corner yourself.
description, I kind of
Yeah.
followed what the table, yeah. But in my description, I kind of followed what the table had by saying the same thing they did by the separate areas that would have different risk assessments. Should I take that out? Or
Let me let something be a guide, right? So let me let something be a guide. So
Mhm.
try to see if we could show you it here. Yeah, okay, look it up here, right? Let me just try to get it market to move. So I want you to kind of judge this for yourself, right? So
Sure.
um declaration, right? By submitting this assessment part 1 to 4 for market, I declare that it is entirely my own work. I understand that falsely claiming that the work is my own is malpractice and can lead to NEBOSH imposing severe penalties, right? See the NEBOSH malpractice policy for further information. I'll tell you a quick story too here, right? So there's nothing wrong with using 3 out of the 4 areas, and there's nothing wrong with saying what you're saying. One of the things you'll have to do, folks, is that you have to say some of this back in your own words. Try to avoid using the exact lines, right? The exact line, like the office and the stock room has a separate risk assessment. I don't know how you're gonna say that back in your, but like the pattern of it, then like you can say it in your own way. You can say SNS Bakery or at SNS Bakery. This is back my thing, right? The reception area would have been covered in a previous risk assessment. You understand? They have a big thing with NEBOSH where plagiarism is concerned, where you're taking direct lines from this. Nothing is wrong with the pattern of it. Try, okay, what the plagiarism software picks up is 3 words in the same line. So if you have the has a separate risk assessment, that could be seen to be plagiarism. How I said it is like, the reception area was covered in the last risk assessment that would have been previously done, right? So what I tell my students, I'm gonna tell you all too, I tell the students to, like, you could leave it, but just say it in your own words. I don't mind you saying like what you're saying, but I use that to tell the class now, like, don't take whole, well, not even whole words, but don't take 3 words in a row, because that comes up as plagiarism, right? I had a student in Guyana. He used a machine shop tuner, right? And when I saw the draft, I told him, you know, I find it sounding too much like the sample. Of course, it's up to the student to listen. He didn't listen and he didn't pass, right? He had to repeat it. He did repeat it. And as the story goes, I told the story in the Tuesday class. I myself, when I was in Guyana, I gave him a certificate personally. So he did eventually pass it, right? But if you listen from the very get-go, then just try to stay away, look at it, but stay away from it. That's the thing with this. Look at it, take a pattern of it, but stay away from it. Once you find yourself taking, like some people, like some people have to change the marker. It's like some people use lines from the table itself. But at least, no, I don't need to go far. The same one here, the finance director, some people use that same line. The finance director who reports to the general manager. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that? Just say who it is. Say the owner of the restaurant, the CEO of IEL, the HSE manager, health and safety manager of Atlantic, has direct responsibility for health and safety. I mean, let's say it in a way where you could say back in your own words, but has the overall responsibility for, health and safety, right? But don't say the finance director. Once you start up that line with the finance director, they know that sounds like plagiarism. But if you say, Mr. Henry, the head mechanic for, S&J Mechanical, looks after safety on a daily basis and is responsible for health and safety, well, then that's not plagiarism. Folks, you understand it? So what I tell the students again, I tell them to read this like 3 times. Read it, read it, read it, and then say it back in your own words, right? The finance director who reports to the managing director has general responsibilities for health and safety. Sorry, direct responsibility. You say it again, right? The finance director, you read it again, and then you try to change it in your own words. You say, what's my company? IEL. You say the managing director of IEL is making this up, right? Reports to the CEO and board of directors, and he oversees safety on a daily basis and is responsible for health and safety. Simple, right? But the minute you start to take lines, you may remember the plagiarism thing, right? If by chance you don't know the consequences of plagiarism, oh, by the way, the outright thing is that some people copy a project from the internet and give us that as if we don't know, as if somehow I tell you I didn't drop on the chair, but I have been on the chair for the last 15 to 20 years. I've been doing safety for that long, right? So automatically, not even it's like a reflex action. I would spot a project that came from the internet and have a couple out there. And it's the same one because the student doesn't know that. The student don't know this project rotating here for the last 15 years, right? Like, some people get it and they try to pass it off. And we definitely know that it's plagiarized. So when I say it's something that somebody posted on the internet, they got it, whatever, right? The other thing is that the other thing is
So,
that
so, so
yeah, let me finish up this point. So you think NEBOSH would know? You think NEBOSH would know if you use one of their lines? You think some people just take whole bulk of text from here, consider RP, right? You think they don't know? They who write this thing, right? If I could tell you it's taken from here, right? You think they really don't know? Come on, man, right? There's a reason why we say NEBOSH is in number one. You could probably get away in UE or Costard. You can't get away with NEBOSH. There is actually, I'm going to finish with the point, right? There's actually a plagiarism committee in NEBOSH that looks over your work. You should write this down. You should write it down. Second time I'm telling you, there's a head of the plagiarism committee. His name is Dr. Tosney. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. Tosney. If you ever get an email from him, that means they catch you. I'll say it again. NEBOSH, when you submit a project, is a plagiarism software and a plagiarism committee. Right? If you ever get an email from a guy called Dr. Tosney, Tosney, from NEBOSH, it means they catch you. At which time you'll have to present a case saying why it is the work was similar to somebody who owned all the sample. Let me just give you the consequences quickly, right? The first consequence is that you would fail, right? The second consequence is that they could ban you from exam for certain periods of time. You could have like a 1 month ban, 6 month ban, 2 year ban. And of course, the worst ban of all is a lifelong ban. I had two Guyanese students that was in class. They didn't tell me they were together because their last names were different, but they were together. And at the end of it, you know how it goes, right? The man copied from the woman, and they both were suspended from NEBOSH for Sajanasa, right? Sajanasa in Guyana there. They are actually, I shouldn't say this, so let me not say it, but so I wouldn't call the company name, but they are actually working for the biggest company right now in Guyana, the biggest oil company. Still working for the biggest oil company in Guyana. They just can't do NEBOSH. They just do something else, right? And that was just blatantly wrong to say you're copying from your girlfriend or something, right? Nothing is wrong with taking help, but do your own work. Question, right? So you understand the thing about plagiarism and NEBOSH? It's too simple for you all to get in that kind of trouble. It's too simple. Why are you doing that? Read the line and change it. Why are you doing all of that? It's too simple. Yes, question?
yes, I think you already answered. Shivan here. This exercise here for the National Garage here, this exercise here project was from actually NEBOSH itself, example.
Yeah, it's not a student, Sonia.
Okay, just making
Yeah,
sure.
but
All right.
it
Okay,
is
good.
from NEBOSH itself. Yeah, but what you should know, just make a note of this too. What you should know is that NEBOSH does not give you a good sample. I don't know why I tell
Okay.
her, right? Remember, I tell her, we didn't meet the fire burning. Sorry, we didn't start the fire. We just kind of met it burning, right? Yeah, but from ever, NEBOSH has never given a good sample. 10 years ago, they had given a sample that would have gotten 60. But back then when it was a marked exercise, I said we always wonder why. Why didn't give a project that would could get like a 90? The sample the school got, and schools around the world was a project that got like 60, 65, right? But it was never a perfect sample. So just remember, this is not a perfect one. Now, you probably wouldn't see the imperfection, but you saw one already. You saw one where the shift system was missing, right? And as you do more and more of the table, you'll see their imperfection as you go along. There are massive imperfections, in fact, on these samples at the moment. Um, Now, the reason, when I say massive, I think it's half and half. I think the reason for it is because they still want you to follow the instructions then, right? And they still want you to, like if it was a perfect sample, everybody would just copy it and pass. So in a way, I think they make it imperfect so that you can still improve on it anyway, right? All right, so this piece is finished. And if you're okay, I kind of want to touch the next piece as well. Gonna clear all the writing on the screen. By the way, if anyone is interested, these videos again are already on the YouTube channel, Shadrach Safety Institute Project Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some of them do very good, 6 point something thousand views. It's not Hollywood, and not really in the martial arts, right? So it's not that entertaining, but it gets 6 point something. And then we have one of our video from Trinidad here. It's probably the most watched video on this project worldwide. If you put NEBOSH project, you'll see my face will come up. Somebody around the world will come up too, right? But we kind of rank up there with that particular one. I don't know if you'll find that one, because we have so much, but there's one of them about close to 7,000 views. For educational purposes, remember, every class is a class of 15, 20. So we know people around the world are looking at it as well. So just to tell, if you want to see the other parts, you could actually have a look at the other parts as well, right? Before this reaches, your YouTube channel. I'm trying to change back the marker there now, right? All right. The next piece of this, if you want me, I would show you the guidance again, which is the document with the forklift on it. Let me just go and show you because I'm kind of trying to lead by example here. So any part you do, having finished off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We can get down to the next part and see what they say, right? The next part is called, I don't know why the cursor is sticking, right? The next part is called the methodology, right? You'll see it here. This piece right here, right? A short part of it. So you would then need to outline how you carry out the risk assessment, the methodology used. You would need to include, and let me tell you it here, the sources of information you consulted, who you spoke to, and how you identify the hazards, what is already being done, and any additional control actions that may be required. Take a minute to see if we can type this a bit. Source of information. It's only form, so you know if you had to remember it, right? I just want to tell you what we're going to look at when we go back to the form. Source of information, who you spoke to, how you identify the hazards, any additional controls, right? Let me see. I have another. Okay, no, this girl is in our class. I thought somebody was running from the other batch, right? All right, so let's go to the sample and you will see this methodology was good. There's no weakness in this methodology. This methodology was good. That doesn't mean you had to copy it. It just means you had to follow it, right? So what you're going to see here, I'm going to grab the marker again. What you're going to see here, you're going to see that approach where they answer all the questions. This paragraph here, short paragraph, answers sources of information consulted. This answers who you spoke to, right? This also answers how you identify the hazard. And this is the last piece here. Any additional controls, actions that may be required, right? So let me just kind of boil it down for you so that you understand it, right? So what you're doing here, you're doing a very brief literature review. Like you want about 3 references on the HSC website. Remember that class we had on ACOPs and guidances? Well, look them here. You sort of have to find about 3. You can mix it up, maybe 2 ACOPs, 1 guidance, maybe 2 guidance, 1 ACOP on your type of company. If it's a garage, a restaurant, an oil and gas company, a school, a restaurant, a business, a financial complex, right? And if you find that's difficult, it shouldn't be, because remember the HSC website, just put it in HSC website, guidance for restaurants, guidance for welding shops, guidance for paint shops, guidance for financial institutions. You should be able to get it. And what we want about 3. If you watch it, you see it have 1 here, it have 1 here, and another 1. But 3 is good, right? They actually, at time NEBOSH actually failed somebody for this because they only had 1. And this say supposed to have more than 1. So I think 3 is good. They could probably put in 2. I seen 1 here again. Actually, this is not an ACOP, and this EH44 is not an ACOP. So I think this is 3, but they didn't list the 3rd one. Remember, ACOPs have the letter L. If you remember that class, EH44 is not an ACOP. EH44 is a guidance. So this said it's a guidance note. So actually, they missed out 1 here, but 3 is good enough, right? Anyway, tell me if you finish writing that. You need about 3 reference sources. And I'll try to break it down for you now, right? So what you're doing in the first paragraph, you're sort of saying that you did research on your type of hazard or your type of company. Briefly, look how brief that is, about 3 lines. You're sort of saying that you did research. That's the sources of information consulted, right? Oh, by the way, for those in Guyana, I'm not too sure why Guyanese make a mistake with it. It must be UK sources, huh? It must be UK sources, typically from the HSE website. I'm afraid to say what people put, because when I say what people put, you all go and put that same thing, which is the wrong thing. So I'm not actually going to say it, right? Just put your sources from the HSE website, right? The next thing you want to do is you want to say like you did an inspection. You want to say like you did a walkthrough of the company. So that's how you can figure out who you spoke to and the hazards you identified, right? So you're saying you did an inspection or a walkthrough of the company. Anything gonna say who you spoke to is like say like anything you say you spoke to Frank, the HSC supervisor, the head mechanic, the chef. That's what you're saying there, who you spoke to and how you identify the hazards, right? And the third thing, could I just put a circle on this, right? These are the bigger things, right? You did research, you're gonna say you do an inspection, and the third thing, listen to this carefully. You could probably start off in the same way as this, right? But the idea of the third thing you're doing there is that you are going to say, listen to it, right? That you are going to use the information that you got, that you research, to address any weaknesses in what you actually found. This is like a gap analysis you're doing here then, like the setup for what is called a gap analysis, right? That's why they say any additional information. And you're actually not really saying what the controls are, but you're saying that you're going to use your, watch it here, I refer to some of the HSE code of practice. I refer to guidance note EH44, right? So you're not actually given what the controls are, but you're saying if there were any weaknesses in the current system that you found in the inspection or the walkthrough, that you are going to use the research information to suggest additional controls. Tell me if you're okay with that. And just a quick, again, story here. The requirement is for additional controls and not just controls. The requirement is for additional controls and not just controls. I had an examiner that spot that on somebody's paper. Somebody didn't put the word additional, and the examiner said it wasn't met because the requirement was for additional controls. So when I look at it, my eyes now have been trained to look for those things. Now I look to see if you all put additional controls because the requirement is additional controls. Let me read it out because we have to stop, right? I have a class again starting in a bit, right? So I started by looking up references to good practices relating to the organization. The HSE website had lots of resources. For example, health and safety in motor vehicle repair and associated industry, HSG 261, and they gave the URL, so do the same thing, was a good source of information. After looking at sources of information, I then went around the workshop and talked to the people who were doing the job. They gave me information that was not obvious from just a visual inspection. For example, a lot of workers did not know that there were dust masks available or the reasons why they should be worn. I also checked the accident book to see what types of incident had occurred over the last 12 months and whether any of these were reoccurring. I also checked the reasons for sick absence again to see if there were any reoccurring themes for ill health. When assessing the control measures, I also refer to some of the HSE approved code of practice or guidance documents. For example, when looking at control measures for dust in the workplace, I refer to dust in the workplace, General Principles of Protection, Guidance Note EH4440 edition, and they give the URL. Take a look at it. Let me grab the rule in the meantime. Put us back on this side. Yes, my other class is waiting, right? Let me just grab the rule from the other side of the room. And I will be finished for today. All right. So I think you all have the blank sheet. You could begin filling it out, right? And to me, once you fill out part of it, you could send it. I don't mind that. Next week is the table. That'll take like a whole session. 3 and 4 we could do in one class anyway. All right, we can do 3 and 4 in one class, right? All right, let me have a go here. Once you hear your name, you could say present and you could leave, right? Ambika Bernard,
Present.
thanks very much. Devon is here. Sadranessa is
Present.
here. Yeah. Justin Maraj,
Present.
thanks, Justin. Janelle Jack, I think, just came in.
Present.
Ryan Moore, yeah. Videsh, yeah, I'm seeing Videsh RG
Present.
Singh, yeah. Andre Wells is here. Emily Gopal, not
Present.
here. Yeah, thanks, Andre. Carissa Joseph, Sangita, Chelsea said she wouldn't be here. Brittany Ramdas,
Present.
thanks, Brittany. Wayne Rabna. To me, I didn't see Wayne on the live today. Normally, yeah, Wayne is there, man. I didn't
Present.
probably how my screen was, yeah. Brittany Modest. Vidal Joseph is here. Ishwar, I don't think is here.
Present,
Page
sir.
Fortune, yeah. All right. There's his left is right. I didn't see Daryl. Shivan Suklal is here. Shanika James, seen her name, yeah. Aliyah. Try to finish off this, so next week I'll start by asking you all what you have done so far now, right? Rishon, Anthony, Mark, Crystal Rampasad. Okay. But folks, do enjoy the rest of your evening. If you're desperate for a video again, like I said, check it out on YouTube, Shadrach Safety Institute, part one, project part one, right? I have another class, right? So I'm not going to be able to post none of my videos for today till probably sometime tomorrow anyway, right? After here, I want to have lunch, which will be 6 o'clock in the evening. Yeah.
So just one question on the other one. The
Yeah.
last part there where you talk about outline, how do you use assessment? You said we're using sites, HSC sites,
Yeah.
UK HSC sites,
Yeah,
right?
don't use OSHA. Yeah, don't use OSHA. Don't use Trinidad. Don't use Guyana. Just the HSC websites. Yeah.
And you did
Right?
spoke about something about the ACOP and the guidance.
Yeah.
Something, what
Yeah.
was that again?
So I don't know if you if you want to find an ACOP, you can just go to the an ACOP is a guide, but it's a special type of
Okay,
guide from the HSC, right? We had a class in it. I don't know
okay,
if you want to go back. And if you find it, you can just find one on YouTube called ACOPs. There's a class called ACOPs. And ACOP, you can get it from
okay,
the HSC website. You just put like if you're looking for a guide on fabrication, you could just go to the HSC website and put ACOPs for fabrication. But if you could get more specific, like maybe a type of hazards, like ACOP for fire or ACOP for explosion, right? ACOP for slipping and falling, you'll have to get it, right? And you'll get the number, which will be this number you're seeing here, like the HSG or the L number, and you'll get the URL as well. Did you all forget that class? If you forgot, just go back and have a look at the class on ACOPs and guidances. Yeah?
okay,
Okay, good. All right. All the best,
Thanks very much, sir.
everyone.
Thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.